We are live. Ed and I are live. It's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been a couple weeks anyway.
Yeah, we missed last weekend.
This whole freaking internet thing is got me in a tailspin. Plus, I think last week I was getting ready to go to Safari Club convention, so I got tons of stuff to talk about that, man. It's um, so much cool stuff and things that were going on and guys I met. I'll start off with this. So you never know who you're going to meet when you go to these things. And we were sitting there's a bar outside of the convention hall, and we've been on our feet all day, and we actually got a seat at the bar. I couldn't believe it. And we're sitting there, and Joe and I were talking, and this little old guy comes up and he sits down next to me to my left. And I look at his vest, and this vest has crocodile skins on it. It's like underlay with crocodile, and it's trimmed in zebra and leopard and all kinds of African critters. And he was drinking gin and tonic, and I thought that sounds pretty good. It's kind of light, and so I ordered one, and he leans over and she goes, "She's generous with the gin too," and so we're sitting there and we're drinking and drinking a gin and tonic, and I asked him, I said, "Where are you from?" And he said, "Oklahoma." It's just outside of Tulsa, Oklahoma. And he was talking to me and asking me, what we were doing there and where we were from. We got the small talk out of the way, and I said, "So you hunted all over the world?" He found out he was 84 years old. He's hunted all over the world. So this guy he went after the Korean War. He went to work for GE, refurbing all of their jet engines, and then after 25 years working for them, he started his own company, rebuilding jet engines on private jets and all kinds of stuff. And then a German company bought him out, and he said, "For the last 25 years, I've been flying around the world shooting, hunting everything I want to."
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And then he asked me what I did, and I said, "Well, we produce this podcast, and we're here on." He saw my media pass. He goes, "You with a magazine?" And I told him, "No, we're with a podcast." I told him what it was, and he's like, "When I was a kid," he said, "there was this guy in my home outside my hometown that we hunted for. He had blue ticks, and his last name was, I think he said Hassler." And I looked at him. I said, "Warren Hasslauer?" And he said, "Yeah, Warren Hasslauer. That's it." He started this big line of blue ticks. This guy, when he was a kid back in the early 50s, was hunting some of the original Smoky River blue ticks.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with it, but
Smoky River is like the foundation for a lot of guys really believe in it. We got Smoky River Blue Diamond Gem. Some people would argue that that's the one of the greatest reproducing dogs of all time for coon hound or for big game hounds. A lot of big game guys like that Smoky River blood. And I found a guy that hunted those blue ticks as a kid for Warren.
yeah, it really
And
is a small world,
yeah,
especially when you get into a specialty, like dog hunting or whatever.
yeah.
It gets a lot smaller.
Well, I never even dreamed. I never dreamed that he goes, "Yeah, we used to coon hunt there." And so when I'm on my way back from New Mexico on this next trip, I'm going to stop in and see him, and I'm going to record a podcast with him about the old dogs and coon hunting as a kid and just his life. I mean, he's an interesting guy. His trophy room, he showed me pictures of his trophy room, and it's not real fancy by modern day standards, but it's nice. But he doesn't have his own fake waterfalls and stuff in his trophy room. But it's 140 feet long and 40 feet wide, I think. And there's every critter you can imagine in there.
And lives outside of Tulsa.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, I told him when I come back, I'll have a blue tick on the truck. The Indy dog that I hunt um, goes back to the Smoky River stuff. on the bottom side, on Jazz's side.
So did you have a
So
booth? Did you have a booth at SCI or?
no, no, we were on media passes, and I expanded my range a little bit this year. Last year, we just walked the show and did some stuff on the floor, and finally found a place to do a podcast. And then, but this year, I got a little more information, in the past year, and found out about seminars and different stuff that were going on. And I really wanted to attend the leopard study that's going on in Botswana. I wanted to hear that presentation, and that was really interesting. And the other one that I went down for specifically was the Texas Mountain Lion Management meeting that they were having, and sat in on that, and got a ton of information on that stuff. It's SCI is doing so much stuff for hunters that it's just unbelievable. And you take the mountain lion deal, for instance. It was Maria Davison is heading up the project. SCI is totally private. Okay, so they take private donations from the Safari Club International Foundation, and they can do whatever they want. They're, as long as they can't violate government laws and stuff, but they work with Texas Parks and Wildlife. But they can do things that would take years for a government agency to get done. The way they can collect data, the way they don't have to give up their data, they don't have to have funds approved by legislative bodies, and the all the things that bog down government from doing what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, when I think of them, I don't even think of hunting in America. I know I'm wrong, but like when I hear that, I just think of like rich dudes going to Africa.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think that's kind of why I put the title on this live that I did, is we need rich people, because there is a lot of money there, and there's a lot. I, I haven't seen it, but I'm told that if you go to the airport, the private jets are lined up out there. They can tell when SCI is having the convention in town. It's
Yeah.
There was a brown bear hunt that sold for $400,000 at the auction on Saturday night. It was 100% donated, and when I think about that, I always thought that too. I didn't become a member of SCI until probably it was 3 years. It's 2 years ago, but I always had the same thought. It's like, man, I got nothing in common with these guys. But when I walk around there, I sat in several booths with like Steve. I hung out at Steve Biggerstaff's booth a little bit, and Ross Blackwelder's quite a bit, and Wade Hollerman. And nobody cares. Nobody comes up and wants to know, looks down on you because you're a houndsman. They don't ask you how much money you make. They don't. It's
No.
it's it's not even a it's not even a conversation. It's just hunters getting together and uh, raising money by the truckloads, and that's not a bad thing.
How are they raising money? They do raffles and stuff there, or what are they doing?
Everything. I mean, they've got
Auctions.
auctions. They've got uh, raffles going on. They've got vendor ticket prices, all of that stuff, entries, memberships, all of it. I mean, it's a multi. I don't know if it's a $1 billion industry or not, or company or not, but there's a lot of money in it. And the thing is, when we need them, they come. If the state chapters for SCI last year during Proposition 127 raised and donated over $200,000 to fight the mountain lion hunting ban in Colorado.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's just the state chapters. Chris Tymason, the head legal head shed for the legal department, he was in multiple meetings. The Safari Club International came out and worked the booth at the Colorado show that I went to, networked with them. They want to save hunting, and they don't care what kind of hunting it is. It all needs to be saved. I think the Africa stuff, I personally think that they recognized the fact that they had kind of that reputation, and they kind of retooled a few things, and it's an association for everybody. It
Yeah.
really is. I
What
mean,
does it
don't
cost?
go to
What does it cost a year?
SCI. I think a membership is $50. I'll look it up. We got some people coming in now.
Yeah, I forgot to link my Facebook, so it's not up on my thing.
Membership cost. 1 year is $65. A 3 year membership is $150. So I bought the a 300, and usually if you join, like when I joined for the 3 year deal, I joined at the NRA convention. It was 150 bucks, and they gave me a free Tacticam trail camera.
Really?
So yeah, they've always got a promo going on. So I mean that was a Tacticam reveal cost, $90, $100.
Yeah, $100.
So, but I was sitting there, I was thinking about it. I always think about stuff like this when I'm in an event like that. I think about, you know, how do we fit into a crowd like that? And I think we've got to get out of our own way to do it. I think houndsmen a lot of times, we like to think about we do. We live hard scrabble lives, and it costs a lot, and we normally don't aren't the guys that are making a lot of money, so we think we won't fit in. But I was able to have conversations with the yeah, Joe the neighbor said lifetime is 1,500. But I was able to have conversations with like Dries Van Collar. He's their international anti-poaching director, and Chris Comer, who's the head of the wildlife research and conservation programs. And it's not hard to do. They would welcome in houndsmen with open arms. They really would. They just want to
So
represent you. They're cat hunters, they're bear hunters, they're hunters.
was there nobody set up? Was there no like booth set up from Houndsman?
Yeah, bigger staffs were there, and we talked to them. And then Ross Blackweller was there, and B&B Ranch Hounds, and Wade Hollerman was there. Wade guides bear hunts on the Paloma, and Wade's just a good dude. He and Hunter Meekum guide on the Ot 6, and then Wade does some independent outfitting there in his home state of Utah, and Hunter does his own thing. But yeah, there's a few houndsmen set up there.
Yeah.
Not a no. I mean, it's pretty like those guys are there to sell hound hunts. That's what they're there for.
Yeah.
And it's just a niche. It's a niche thing. So it's not like going to Autumn Oaks or something and finding a hound hunter. You got to look
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah. That's the thing. I mean, so like you mentioned before we went live, oh, you should go next year. And my first reaction was, I don't think I could stomach that. And I think that's the common like you're talking about as houndsmen, we kind of stay apart from the other sportsmen like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, if we all, $60 a year or whatever, if everybody would just join state associations and like Sportsman Alliance and SCI, if we would all get on board with that, I mean, $60, it's not, you know, anybody can afford it. If we would all unite and pay dues like that, just think of like what a difference it would make. There's more houndsmen in America than there are dudes going to Africa
Mm-hmm.
for hunts.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, 100%. And I think that's what's going to take if if we would get if we would pay memberships and we would get involved and we were obviously houndsmen, um, you know, represent yourself as a houndsman, they would embrace it. They'd be like, welcome, we're glad you're here. And I think really after what they did for Colorado and what they're doing right now with in conjunction with Sportsmen's Alliance for fighting for our rights and suing these state agencies that have become overrun with liberals and moderates and bunny huggers and all that. I mean, they're going after them. They're going right back after them. And we'll have Chris Tymason on the podcast here before too long. But we owe it to them to
Yeah.
support their organization. We really do.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it takes money to do all that stuff.
That's exactly right. And um, they're just they really are just good old boys with money. You know, they they I know, just like that guy that I sat down and talked to. You could talk to that guy anywhere, and I don't know what he sold his company for, millions. Uh,
Enough, it sounds like.
enough to be comfortable and some serious money that he's going to be able to pass down. And yeah, I just think we got to get off the kick that it's a bunch of rich guys, that it's easy to sit back and shoot darts at people that have stuff that you don't have. And honestly, as I was sitting there and I was thinking about it, because I've heard the same comment that you made, I don't know if I could stomach it or not because all the money that's there. Do you think the liberals don't charge $2,000 a plate at their fundraiser? They need, and that's how we're getting outspent,
Oh yeah.
getting outpaced.
Yeah. Yeah. As houndsmen, we're always afraid that somebody's gonna dupe us and steal our money, and we're not gonna get anything for it.
Well, I mean, that's the part of it. If you just pay your dues and you don't get involved and you don't make your voice heard, doesn't matter what you join. You can join your own breed. We see that garbage in these breed associations, that
Yeah.
people don't feel like they're being rented because it's not their things aren't going their way or whatever.
Yeah.
But man, I'm telling you that we're never going to get anywhere sitting back and being suspicious. I think there's certain groups like Sportsmen's Alliance and SCI and stuff like that that if even if we formed, even if we got the National Houndsman Alliance off the ground, I'm talking about two organizations right there that have people sitting in offices in Washington. They've got legislative affairs committees. They've got committees that work on wildlife management, that work with state wildlife biologists. I mean, these people have influence. And even if we were to get a National Houndsman Alliance off the ground today, it would be we would never see it in our lifetime. And
No.
we can't afford it anymore. The freaking devil's at the door. I mean, he's there and he wants in bad. And if we don't find some way to make some friends and make some friends fast, we're going to lose it.
Yeah. It would take 10 to 15 years for a national dog hunting alliance to like get the connections that it needed to be able to legitimately sit at the table with people that you need to be sitting there with. Unless you could just get 75% of houndsmen in the United States to join it, then you can buy your way. You can buy people that
Yep.
have those connections, you know, but it takes money. It takes a lot of money.
Yeah, you almost need, if you get 75% of them, 25% of them need to be millionaires with disposable incomes, to
Yeah.
be able to pay. We're talking paying full-time staff, paying lobbyists, paying legal affairs. You can buy insurance through SCI, all of that sort of stuff. Yep. Yeah, Cord, we'll get, and that kind of leads into what we're going to talk about next when Luke comes on. Um, Luke will be in here in a few minutes, and we'll talk about what's going on in Wyoming. And we'll get you ready. You want to do that now,
Yeah,
Ed?
Luke. Yeah, Luke's sitting there, I think.
All right. Before we let Ed on, I'm serious, guys. Yeah,
I'm already
everybody,
here.
huh?
I'm
Oh
already
yeah,
here.
we'll let
You
Luke in.
okay? Yeah.
We're thinking about taking you off the stage.
Okay. Okay.
You're an admin, so we could have a war here. I could remove you. You could remove me. I could add myself. You could add yourself. Yeah. But check out if you haven't checked out Fright Club International, if you haven't checked out Sportsman's Alliance, all of these different groups, um, yeah, it's worth our time, and we've got to find Pete. We've got to find friends now. We've got to find them. All right, let's get this wild man in here. I'm not. I might have to mute him because he gets wild.
Well, we'll just see.
Yep. Luke Worthington.
How you guys doing?
I'm doing
Pretty
good,
good.
man.
Good.
How you been?
Busy.
I
We've been
bet it
busy.
looks like it.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a bad deal.
Yeah. Usually Luke and I are like arguing about who has the trashiest dogs and blaming each other for that kind of stuff. But Luke's on here tonight because of some outrageous legislation that's been filed in Wyoming, and it's multiple bills, according to Luke. But the one that caught my attention was the House Bill 286, which totally deregulates lion hunting, mountain lion hunting in the state of Wyoming. And when I was reading the article today, Luke, I looked down through it, and boom, there's Luke Worthington, president of the Wyoming Houndsmen Association, getting the credit, man, and getting quoted in that thing. So good job speaking up and speaking out.
That's the only way you can get. It's the only way you can get ahead of these things. You gotta get the press involved. You gotta spread the word, and let a lot of sportsmen, not just hound guys. This isn't a hound guy bill. This is a sportsman bill because they have just taken the privilege away from us to have public comment. This is a complete government overreach. It is This is insane. They're trying to cut the game and fish out of all this stuff. There's more than just this bill, but they want game and fish. They want the management of the game and fish because they don't believe in science, right? And the North American model of wildlife conservation, that's the platform, is science-based management. Data, data. They said, well, this is a save a deer bill. You
Yeah.
know, that's what this is. We all know bears and lions, they eat deer. They're meat eaters. You
Right.
know, you don't have the amount of deer to feed your large carnivores. You probably shouldn't be hunting them. Plain as day. If there's that few deer where you can't feed a couple lions and some bears, you know, there's more of an issue than predators. We're fighting habitat. We burned 500,000 acres of grassland this winter. We had fires everywhere. The sustainable habitat for mule deer right now in Wyoming is collapsing, and it's not killing bears and lions isn't gonna bring them back.
Yeah.
There's a
Well,
lot more.
tell us what's going on with this bill. Tell us what it says, just give us the overview of this thing, and why it's bad for Wyoming houndsmen and Wyoming wildlife.
All right, I'll give you a summary of the bill. This bill was pushed by Representative Mike Schmidt. He's a main sponsor of it. Representative out of southwest Wyoming. It's a winter range for mule deer. Um, he's actually on the Wyoming Trappers Association board. And he has a passion for mule deer. Who doesn't? We all hunt mule deer. And this bill was the summary of it is to take all the management power away from game and fish. If you carry an antelope, deer, or elk tag, you can harvest mountain lion unlimited. There's no quotas. There's no management. There's no shooting hours. They're gonna make game and fish right trapping regs so you can snare and trap them. Yeah, it's kittens. You can kill anything. And it's not just one lion per hunter like our bear bill is. It's as many lions as you can get. So you can go kill 5 lions, take them in, get your coupon, and go kill 5 more. It's an outrage.
The article I read said anybody with a deer, elk, or what was the other thing tag,
Yeah.
antelope tag,
Yep.
can shoot as many as they want. I didn't see anything about checking anything in. Is that right or wrong?
I believe there was a coupon in there. Chris, to tell
Really?
you the truth, there's so many bills right now. I might have them a little bit mixed up in my head. I know the bear.
Right.
I think the bear might have a coupon, but I'm looking at like 6 or 7 bills that are all the same draft. It's bad. But
Yeah.
it might just be the bears. If the lion bill didn't say it, I'd have to reread it. Because I'm kind of brainwashed right now. I'm kind of getting swamped. But yeah, it's pretty much unlimited. They're pretty much making them a predator, but keep them as a game animal. So then Game and Fish, now they don't have the license fee. They're getting defunded, and then they still have to pay the depredation on livestock. That's how they're keeping the ag side of this stuff happy, is keeping them a game animal. So Game and Fish has to pay that, even though they've lost hundreds of thousands of dollars in mountain lion tags.
Right.
And it's
They
a
probably
very,
got they probably got quite a bit of support from the ag community, don't they?
you know, I I don't think so.
No.
I think Wyoming's pretty much, this is what I'm hoping's happening. It's this has only been a 2-day deal right now. We're trying to be preactive instead of proactive, but I think the ag community knows good wildlife management, which I hope they do. And this is just completely mismanagement, and it's government overreach. They're
Mhm.
completely kicking the Game and Fish out of all these bills.
Why do
And
you think? What's your opinion, Luke? I mean, why do you think this is a bad deal for houndsmen? Because I think a lot of people would think, "Oh, I get to run my dogs anytime I want. I get to go. We can, I think a lot of houndsmen would say, well, we can self regulate. We could, what's your thoughts on it?
well, I'll tell you the truth about my thoughts. I'll be 100% truthful. There's
That's
gonna
good.
there's gonna be a lot of people that take advantage of this.
Hmm.
Be a lot, and I think our Wyoming hound guys, we've done a really good job. You can look at the data on mortality. Our resident hound guys believe in selective harvest, and
Hmm.
most of our juveniles and stuff are killed by outside people.
You
Guys,
can say it, Luke. Them damn non-residents.
and you can't blame a guy. I do say the damn non-residents, but you can't blame a guy for coming out and having an opportunity. You get an opportunity, you catch your first lion. You haven't seen them like we have. You
Yeah.
know what you're looking at. You think you do, but you don't. They
Right.
all look big. Everything looks big. And you get them in a tree there, and you're just like, "Nah, that's a good cat." You shoot it, it's a 45-pound female, or 45-pound Tom, which yeah, on Facebook and stuff, it's going to be 110 pounder, but it's
Right.
not. There, and you can't blame those guys for opportunity. But now this is opening it up to everybody. Trapping, night hunting. Wyoming just passed a law where you can actually use thermals and spotlights on public land, and they have that ability now.
Hey, silence that phone, man.
It's
That
my
hurt. That kind of hurt.
it's my it's actually my computer, and I don't know how to do that.
Okay.
My phone's linked to it, so I don't know how to do that. But anyways, this is going to be, it's an opportunist for a lot of outside people and with residents. I don't think it's just a non-resident issue. There is going to be resident guys who are like, game on,
Yeah.
game
Yeah.
on, let's do this. And then in
Well,
years, they're going to be calling me and be like, dude, there ain't no lions left. It's like, oh, you think?
You guys have a really good population?
No,
No?
no, we don't
Oh.
have a tremendous population like people think we do. I just, I've been a guide for quite some time, and and I put 3,600 miles on in 16 or 17 days solid, and I cut 7 lion tracks.
Dang. I just assumed you guys had a bunch.
No, me and my little boy go hunting all the time, and there's weekends it's a total bust. And I've like this year I'm on my 5th range because I go and take a couple Tom Bobcats at every different range around me, and we haven't cut a lion track once bobcat hunting, and I'm hunting lion country, like real deal lion country. And I run into a lot of hound guys, but and it's area specific. You can go to some spots and you're going to find a cat. It's just there's areas that are more populated than other. You got a good source population, and you can find a lion, but it's not like what everybody's saying in this legislation where we're overran with cats. I had a fowler tell me that he cut 55 lion tracks and saw 5 or 7 lions in a chicken coop killing his chickens. And I was like, what you need a hound guy. I got 4 of them in your hometown. They'll come over. I was like, you want their phone number? No. And he was just blowing smoke. There's
So
not
in
Go ahead, Ed.
Wyoming. In Wyoming, how does it work at your capital? It's going to go into a committee, probably a wildlife and ag committee or something like that.
It's in the TRW, which is Travel, Recreation, and Wildlife Committee. It's going to be there Tuesday or Thursday of next week. If it passes committee, it goes to the House floor because it's a House bill.
Yeah. But I mean, you've got a obviously your ally on this bill is your wildlife department. They're fighting it, right?
They can't.
They can't?
No.
See, in Oklahoma, like our wildlife department, they lobby at the Capitol just like the oil and gas. What's that?
Maybe your game and fish department is ran by your legislation. Ours is a separate entity.
Ours is separate, but they still have the Oklahoma Department of Wildlife has lobbyists when there's bills that they don't like that they go.
Our game and fish comment. If you're a game and fish employee, you cannot voice your opinion as a game and fish employee. You can do it you can do it as a person.
Same way in Indiana, same way in Colorado.
Yep.
Most states are that way.
Yep.
I mean that comes in handy. A lot there's a lot of times in Oklahoma where I wish that was the case. So I just assumed that this would be a case where you'd actually be on the same side as them. But I guess y'all are different than we are.
Yeah,
CPW was getting kicked in the teeth out in Colorado because they weren't stepping up, and speaking out against 127 last year.
Mm-hmm.
But legislatively, they couldn't. As a matter of fact, the Sportsmen's Alliance is suing CPW right now because some of the commissioners were quoted in an editorial, or actually they wrote the article that what became an editorial supporting Prop 127, which is against the law. Mm. So most states, wildlife professionals and wildlife departments are not allowed to lobby legislative issues. That's a unique thing in Colorado or in Oklahoma. Yeah. So, Luke, tell me. I want to talk about this bill a little bit because I set it up, where some people can start taking advantage of this. And what I'm seeing in Utah and what I'm hearing from Utah is that it's been a free for all out there. And some of our hardcore houndsmen and even some of the leadership of the Utah Houndsmen Association is they're telling their members, it's like, hey, show some restraint, be an adult here. You don't have to kill them just because you can. Be responsible. And what I think is going to happen in Utah, and if this passes in Wyoming, I think what we're seeing is a new strategy, because who hasn't been vocal about this thing yet?
The antis?
Yes. The anti-hunters, the Center for or the Wildlife Mountain Lion Foundation made a very bland statement, but they know that I tell the guys in Utah, I said, in a few years, when your mountain lion numbers are crashing, you're going to see Center for Biological Diversity, Mountain Lion Foundation, the Sierra Club, all these groups coming and saying you need to shut down the season and put them on the endangered species list. And once they make the ESA, good luck getting them off.
See, what the state of Wyoming is going backwards. We did this in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. We wiped out our large carnivores. Everybody got a bear tag with their elk tag like they're trying to do now. Lions were a predator. We wiped them out. I have a gentleman on my board, on the Houndsmen Association board. He's been hunting with hounds for 50 plus years. And he said I can't quote him on the date, but it was like 1979. We started lion management in 1974. He said in 1979, he cut a lion track up there by Cody, going up the North Fork, and he called the game warden and said, I got a lion track. And he says, there's game wardens coming from all over to look to see what a lion track looked like because they were gone. They were completely gone.
Yeah.
And what people don't know is we just got done with a huge spike in mule deer. Mule deer hunting was really, really good just a couple years ago. And we had a very bad winter on the west side of the state that killed 100% of the fawn crop. 80% of the mule deer population is gone. They got wiped out because of a winter, and now they're taking it out on the bears and lions.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when mule deer numbers were really, really good, guess what else was striving? Lions, bobcats. You know, it's at peak and fall of wildlife. It happens. But for us to completely go backwards in time, it's 225 for God's sakes. You know, we got different scientific plans. We go on a completely different management plan. You got, you know, our deer numbers are crashing, and we know that. But so are our lion numbers. We stayed at our quotas actually went up in those areas, and they're not killing more lions because they're not there. You double a quota. Oh, we're really going to smoke them now. Well, it's almost February. We went from 20 lions over there to 30. They haven't even hit 20 lions yet.
Well, you can see that. You can see that when you lion hunt. You know, if you want to catch lions, you go where the deer are, and if there's no food there, the lions aren't going to be there.
Well, the state of Wyoming, our carnivore department has a really great study. They did 25 mountain lions. They collared 25 lions just to do a kill study. They walked in on kills, and it was all based off maturity age of a lion. So right now, Wyoming is facing an elk population that is out of control. So they say. And they went to unlimited cow tags on private land. One person.
No kidding.
Oh, you can kill 20 cows.
No 30, way.
Whatever you want to kill, man. You kill one, go buy another tag, kill another one. You talk about filling a freezer, right?
Yeah.
How many elk we have? You don't think that many elk on the landscape is hurting a mule deer population? Absolutely. Yeah, we got browsers and grazers, but you got to realize you're out in the prairie. There's not much browse, and we have mule deer. We don't have no trees, you know? Right. It's a desert of Wyoming. And
the most desolate drive I've ever taken was from Gillette down to where's the roundup held, or the Cheyenne. I drove from Gillette to Cheyenne, man. I thought I'd gotten lost somewhere.
You were probably down on I-25. You probably didn't go through Gillette. You probably went down through Casper to Cheyenne. But Wyoming's a big high desert, and then we have our mountain ranges. And I made a point that I think is an excellent point. I live in an area here that we had 28,000 deer, and now we're down to 7,500. And guess what? I don't have lions. I don't have bears. There's something else going on. No, and I'm not saying predation isn't a reason why we're losing some mule deer. We all know it. You know, lions eat deer. But that study, they did these 25 lions. They went to 750 kills. There was very, very minimal deer kills. And if they were, it's an age structure. So once they hit about 3 years old, they hit sexual maturity. And then they started to switch over from small game and deer to almost primarily elk. It was like a 90% elk, that's what
Yeah.
their source was, 90% elk. And it's I'm sorry, this might happen all night, but it's and that's interesting to look at, because what I see out in the field, I spend over 100 days out there following dogs, and you walk a lot of country and following these animals. They always say a lion kills 1.5 deer a week. I don't know where they're finding the half deer at, but if that's true, why am I not catching all these lions off a kill? I follow a lion for 5 days. What's going on? I follow him for 8 days, 10 days. You're not coming across all these kills.
Yeah.
And that, I was like, that's data, right? That's the truth behind what we do, because in this fictional world about all these animals they kill, eventually you're going to be running off kills. And why are lions traveling so far? If they're
Yeah.
constantly just killing stuff, you're constantly running off kills, and we don't see that. There's no
Well,
hound can be like, oh man, I've just been popping lions up a tree because there's dead stuff everywhere. It just
you
doesn't.
talked about the winter kill out west on the western side of the state. Did the ranchers see a rise in depredation kills from lions out there?
I don't
You know
believe so.
that?
I requested all the deprivation stuff throughout the state through the Game and Fish. I filled out a request and I got the deprivation. There's no deprivation in Wyoming. It is
Yeah.
so low. It's there's some goats and some ducks and stuff, but
Well, you
you
guys
know,
run a lot of sheep, don't you, on your ranch? On
yeah,
the ranch you manage?
yeah.
How many sheep have you lost to lions?
I'm sure we've lost a couple, but we don't. You don't get to them in time for one, but we haven't had a large loss to lions. We
It's
don't.
not massive.
I'm not in a
It's
lion
not.
area, so I can't
Yeah.
testify to that. But it's we there was a year. This was about 5 years ago now. We lost 440 lambs. We kept some ewe lambs. We lost 440 ewe lambs in 3.5 months to eagles and coyotes. I'm not
Yeah.
blaming a coyote either. Coyotes get blamed for a lot, but eagles, we got the wolf of the sky, and it's called the golden eagle, and they are machines. They kill a sheep a day.
Seth would love you for saying that. Seth Hall, he hates golden eagles.
And golden eagles they're vicious, man. I've seen them kill out antelope, sort them like cutting horses. They'll get them running, they'll sort one off, and I've seen them golden eagles come down and just roll it. It is it's really cool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You're just like a bird, a bird taking down a speed demon.
Do
Right.
you have it? Do you have any? Did they do any? You said when they did this before in the '60s, and then do you have any studies that wildlife did back
I,
then on the front end or the back end of it?
they were a predator, so there was no studies done on predators that I know of. You're talking the 60s where it was an agricultural world, and you're throwing strychnine out of airplanes.
Yeah, but I mean, they had to do some studies
There may be, Ed, but
when they went back to regulation on them.
Yeah, when they came back into regulation 74, I'm sure there's studies. I don't have my hands on them, nor have I requested them. But I'd like to see how long it took to rebound, even to the 2000s, the early 2000s. We didn't have lions in a lot of these areas. They have gotten bigger, just like that South Dakota lions. South Dakota didn't get these from they just didn't come out of nowhere. They came out of Wyoming and Montana. So they worked down this drainage. They populated the Black Hills. South Dakota has absolutely zero mountain lion management whatsoever. They think they do, but they don't. So that area over in Wyoming that has a really high quota, we kill 55 lions out of 128,000 acres of national forest. But they're just coming in from South Dakota because they have no management plan at all. And the cats they do kill are 17 pounds. I've seen them kill 17-pound kittens, 21-pound kittens, because it's all boot hunting. There's no hounds allowed up there.
Yeah.
And those cats, whether people like to hear this or not, a young female cat means nothing to population. It means nothing. That's science, right? They're not a contributor to population. They may be, but their survival rate to get to adulthood is very low. So you like your good harvest on a cat is either a really young cat or the very old, because you want to keep that sexual maturity there to continue your contributors to your population. Correct?
Right.
It's the same thing in the deer world.
I
You
was
have
just going to say that.
you kill all your big bucks, your breeder bucks that are gonna, your 3, 4, and 5-year-old bucks that will go out. They'll hit a group of does, they'll breed stuff, and they'll travel on. They know how to move out, find does, and then you have these young bucks that everybody's like, oh, they're still bucks. It's like, yeah, they're little year and a half old bucks. I said the only thing they're going to breed is their mom and their sisters.
Yeah.
They don't travel. They don't know the breeding strategies. They don't go out and hunt for does.
Well, the
And
same thing's true for the does. Just like
they stay
on
with.
your ranch that you manage there, Luke. You sell those yearling ewes
I
because you
don't
don't
manage
know
it
if they're.
that way. I don't manage it. I just work on it.
Oh, okay. Sorry. You just work on it. But like your first year heifers, you bring them in, and a lot of them go to market, and you hold a few back, and you hope they're breeders. If they're not breeders, you'll end up selling them. But you're taking a gamble. You're not going to sell a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old reproducing cow and replace it with a yearling heifer that might reproduce.
Right.
And the same thing can be said for managing wildlife. A young doe is a gamble. A young buck is a gamble. It's not a
Absolutely.
bad thing to take them off the landscape
It's the same
for
thing in the
management.
stock world, because I just told this to a guy the other day. I said, we like a 20-to-1 bull cow to bull ratio. That's when you get your good breed up. And if we can get a little bit lower, we will, but then you get a lot of fights. So I said, out of them, you got 100 head of cows, so that puts you you put 5 bulls in there, so that's 20-to-1. You put 5 year-and-a-half-old bulls in there and tell me what your breed up's going to be. But you go in there and put 5 4-year-olds, every
Mhm.
one of them cows is bred.
Yeah.
They know the breeding strategy. That's your contributors to your population. And just like with this bill, you know, what's so damaging with this bill is these guys think these lions are having litters every year.
Right.
That is not true. It's not true with bears. And a lion is going to breed. Its sexual maturity age is, I heard, as early as 2, but usually it's around that 2 to 3
Mhm.
range. If they do breed, if a tom comes through and they do get bred, they will hold them kittens at their side from 14 to 18 months. They'll kick the toms off a little bit earlier because it's a tomcat, but they'll hold the female kittens by their sides, and then they might breed a few with the kittens at their side, or maybe a few months after at their next heat cycle. And then now you just taken almost 2 years out of that the mother uh, lion's reproductive, because she's been raising kittens for a year and a half. So now she's having a litter maybe once every 2 years. And then their survival rate is so low. It's like a 25% chance of any of her kittens making it to adulthood, which is 3 years or above. Everything
Right.
below that's a sub-adult. And it's horrible. You
Well,
go
this
out,
whole
you just start wiping them out, and you take out that whole mature breeding level, they have no chance of coming back.
the whole idea that if we get rid of mountain lions, we're going to have more deer
It's not.
is crazy. I sat through a presentation by Mike Budencheck with SCI. He was an APHIS guy, and then he's also a biologist. He worked. I'm pretty sure he worked in Wyoming for a while. Um, and he talked about when your predator numbers, you take one predator off the landscape, you're going to see a rise in your bobcat and your coyote population. Um, you've got to do predator management. It was a great presentation. He talked about all of the things. You can't just remove a species. When you're removing a species, then you have to work on habitat. When you're working on habitat, you've got to work on, water and all of these different things. He had a list of 18 things that all go together, and one of them is removing a predator that's giving you problems. Because if you remove the predator, then something else is going to move in. Your coyotes, your bobcats are going to be taking up the slack where your lions left off. So I mean, it's crazy to think that these legislators, that guy's got somebody whispering in his ear. You know, somebody's pulling the strings for him to say, introduce a lion bill. We want to kill more lions. That's the answer. And if you don't, then we're not giving you your money next year
You
for
know
your
what?
campaign.
We have large mule deer advocates in the state of Wyoming, and I've talked to me personally. I've talked to one or two of them, and I have affiliates that I've talked to a couple of the really big ones, and they're completely
Mhm.
against this. You know, so that kind of puts me out as like, hey, it's a mule deer guys pushing this. I don't think it is. I think these guys sponsoring this bill, I think they want to do God's work, and I think they want to be responsible for recovery. And this isn't the way to do it.
Yeah.
Because we've talked to them big foundations, mule deer guys. They're not for mismanagement of large carnivores or mismanagement of any wildlife species whatsoever. So
Right.
that's really good to hear, you know, because
Are they not? Will they only say they don't support it behind closed doors, or will they help you lobby against it?
they'll lobby against it. They'll lobby against it. I think they'll get. I don't know this for sure, but I hope they get their members and the people that mean a lot to them to be like, this is mismanagement. You know, it's starting with bears and lions here this year. This is the worst legislation year we've ever seen. This is nuts, and it's everywhere. It's not just wildlife, but it's you know, they might start with our bears and lions, but how do you know legislation is not going to take over the control of deer and elk and moose?
Hmm.
This is what it's doing. This is government overreach. This is dictatorship. This is taking the public process out of wildlife management. Public process is huge. That's why we have a game and fish department. We have a commission, and we have biologists on the ground. Because when the biologists bring in the data, Chris knows this. He's a game warden. So the biologists bring in data. They present it. They usually, like in Wyoming, they hold region meetings. So they go to all these different regions in Wyoming, and they have public comment,
Yep.
people concerns, all this. They built that in their data platform and make a presentation to present it to the commission. They come in and they said, hey, here's my data. This is what I got. But here's where my public comment comes from. This is concerning because we had 11,000 people say we need to do this. So here's my draft. I took in the public comment, and they got to show all this stuff, you know. It's amazing what how hard these biologists work, but and then they take the whole process of their data, they bring in that public input, and they build a platform. They show it to the commission, they present it for an hour. Commission looks through it, votes on it, and I have seen our commission be like, we need more. I'm going to ask
Right.
you to come back, go back, redo your data, come up with a different strategy. We don't like it. Come back, present it again. And they do. And I've seen them do that. And that's the benefit of doing it through policy.
Yes.
Public.
That's how we do it in Oklahoma as well. We have a wildlife
And that's
commission.
that's according to the North American model.
First
You know,
tenet.
we also
First tenet is
you know,
wildlife is held in the public trust. That wildlife belongs to you and me and Ed and everybody that has contributed to that, and even people that don't contribute to it. That's the beauty of the North American model, is that it's held in a public trust. We'll even let anti-hunters go out
that's
and look at
exactly right.
deer and elk, you know, but we're
We
paying
take
for it.
from
And
those
and
anti-hunters are as a voice as you and me, and you
that's
have
right,
to listen to them. You listen to them.
right.
You know,
But
that wildlife is theirs too. Just
you,
because they're not killing it, I mean, it's not theirs.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
so you got to
So
be in that.
the whole idea here is, like you were saying, Luke, that wildlife first tenet is all wildlife is held in public trust. And when the legislatures try to step in and legislate, it's not held in control of the government. It's our wildlife. And by that mandate, they have to let us have it. I don't know the legalities on the whole thing, but they have to let us have a say. And that's why fish and wildlife committees hire biologists and they hire game wardens and they hire all kinds of people to do this kind of work. Legislators don't have staff. They can't go out and collect their own data. They have to rely on fish and wildlife data and
You read
biologist data.
you read that article that I was quoted in through Wildfile, right?
Yep.
What did I say? I said, "Where's your data?
Right.
Show your data." Because all I have to do is make a phone call or a request to Game and Fish. And when I argue with you, don't argue with these guys. You can, and I have before. But know what they can beat me on? They can prove it with data. And know what they tell me? Where's your data?
Right.
Like, well, my data is in my experience on the ground. He goes, that's great. But here's my data.
I say the same thing to deer hunters that say that coonhounds mess up their deer hunting. It's like I show them my data. I've got a lot of it says they don't. So we can argue about this, but show me your data. And it's the same. That's it. Show me what you got.
Luke,
right.
do you have phone numbers or emails of the your representatives that are pushing this that people can call or email?
I have been putting it out on the wonderful world of Facebook. I'm going to try to get it posted on our website. I'm going to get this bill posted on there, get all the committee. I'm going to get the chairman. We're going to try to get all this stuff really easy so you can just go to a website. You can click on it. Of course, I'm really kind of computer illiterate, but I'm going to get some help on that, get this stuff out here. I've been sending it out. I can tell you right now who's sponsoring this bill, and that means a lot because you can go to wildledge.gov. You can find representatives. It's a really easy to navigate website. It's I got to pull this up, man. I'm starting to get a little tired from all this stuff, but okay, this bill is sponsored by Representative Smith. He's out of LaBarge, Wyoming. His name is Mike Schmid. Representatives Alaman, Harrelson, Weber, Wharf, Winter are the co-sponsors, and the senator sponsor is Driscoll. All that stuff can be found on wildledge.gov. Wildledge. Yep.
And I imagine anybody can go on that website too, and you can probably find the contact information for everybody on that committee. Like
yes.
we in Oklahoma, we've fought this kind of thing a few times. When it's hard to beat it. Well, I shouldn't say it's hard. Lots of times this kind of stuff gets killed in committee, so it's easier to kill it it's easier to do the work now to try to get it killed in committee. There's fewer people to get a hold of. So yeah, anybody from Wyoming, if you're opposed to this, go to that website, look up those guys, and also look up the contact information for everybody that's on that committee, and call them, email them. And another thing that we've done in Oklahoma is the day of the committee or the day before, we try to get as many people as we can to go to the Capitol and just you don't have to be obnoxious. Just being there. Basically, I've had representatives tell me, like, if one dude shows up, they basically consider that there's probably 99 other people who agree with that one guy.
Right. I want to interrupt you real fast because I got Cord Barton on here. He's one of our hound guys, and he was trying to share the website for the representatives, but I don't think it will work on here. Cord, if you would, bud, type in the link. Go to the website, type in the link in longhand, and then they can write it down. That would help a lot.
I've got it right here. I can put it in here.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, and Chris, if you could post it in your stuff too, that would really help because it's this stuff's hard to get out without a lot of mainstream media, some of the big media. I've talked to some of them. I believe I just did an article today with Eastman's, and I think it should all be in there too. So, trying to reach out to these big platforms and get the word really spread, I think is really going to help to kill this. I would have rather seen it killed See, they brought up a predator deal before this, and I believe we got it shut down, and I was pretty happy about that. But then it turned, all they really did was change language, and they brought it right back. Oh, you don't want it as a predator. Well, we can take that predator status away and just make them a game animal, but this is pretty much a predator bill. And same with that change.org. I'm sure that's been floating around. Have you guys seen that?
Have you got the?
It's not written right. And I said, this is going straight to the governor.
Before we get too far away from that, can you see that?
I can, yeah.
State of Wyoming legislature. You can look up all the representatives. You can look up bills there. Here's the 2025 General Assembly session bills. And if you go in there, it's 286, right?
Yep. There it is.
Right there.
Right there.
That's how easy it is. You go to wyoledge.gov and you can look that up. It shows you the sponsor and it'll give you the whole bill right there.
And it's introduced into the referred to the committee too, and you can click on that committee, and you can, I when I testify on this legislation stuff, I just do it on my phone, because usually I'm out working or goofing around or something. But I just sat there, parked on a hill, did my whole testifying deal, and they let you right on. It's really easy to testify on this stuff, especially for our Wyoming guys.
So HB 0286, here's the whole text of the legislation. You can see the status of it right now. So it is received for introduction, and it's there's been a bill number assigned, and it's been introduced and referred to this committee, this House committee. So that's how easy it is, folks, to get involved.
That's and I like that YO Ledge website. It's so easy to navigate. I think Game and Fish should take a tip from them, because their Wyoming Game and Fish page is so hard to navigate. It's gotten better. This last year they made it really easy, but before
Ed'll tell you it's so the game wardens have a job to do. We don't really want you guys knowing what the laws are. You need to be able to write tickets.
I'm like a regular.
I think they like it. I think they like it a bit gray.
Regulation encyclopedia. For some reason, that's the only thing I can hold in my memory is regulations. All my buddies call me, "Can we do this?" I said, "Yep, you're good." I said, "It's right here in regulations." I could almost state all the regulations because I read them so much, because they're always changing.
Right.
I got them memorized, but yeah.
Yep. Another good website is Legiscan, Legiscan, and it's all 50 states, so you can go into Legiscan, pick the state. It's searchable, so you can search. You put in 2025, you can search dogs, and it'll pop up every proposed legislation for the state you put in that has the word dog in it, and it has the same information, committee members and contact information and all that.
So the Sportsman's Alliance website is super easy as well. You can actually go to their website and then go to their interactive map, and let's see, monitor the fight nationwide. They used to have an interactive map on here. Here it is. All right, so when you go to the Sportsman's Alliance website, they actually put an interactive map on there. So when you click on Wyoming, let's see what's going on in Wyoming. Fish and Wildlife Commission 4, House Bill. They've got them all on here. There's 286 right there. And then a lot of those other bills. Here's bear coupons, Game and Fish.
Yep.
So it's all there, and you can just go to one website if you want to just dial in on the.
That bear one has a lot of legs too. That bear one, is a bad deal, and it has a lot of legs. A lot of these wildlife bills this year, they got legs underneath them, and they're getting in. They're getting in
Yeah.
fast, and I don't know who's pushing this, and it's wild how fast it's making ground.
Hmm.
One was introduced on Sunday, and it's
Yeah.
Tuesday. It's already been referred to a committee, and you're like, wow, this
Right.
thing's moving fast, almost too fast. But we had it. We knew something was coming. We saw bad legislation from the get-go of the session, and we're just like, it's going to be a rough year. It's going to be a rough year for everything, not
Hmm.
just wildlife, education, everything. It's pretty wild.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on and keeping us informed, Luke. I'm going to reach out. You've got a couple key people there in Wyoming. Do you know Maria Davidson? She's
Yeah.
in Wyoming. She works for SCI. She's
Yes,
one of
yeah.
their biologists. So I'll reach out to Maria and see what she knows and try to get SCI on this thing too. And
Yeah.
I'll reach out to Sportsman's Alliance. I'll reach out to Todd and
Okay.
find out what the plan is there.
Okay. I know we have Wyoming Wildlife working on it, and then TRCW,
Yep.
and Wyoming Wildlife does a great job. They really like keeping people informed on this stuff, and they're good at it. Jess Johnson, shout out to her. She's been great. Always has been. Works really hard for wildlife, and that whole Wyoming Wildlife deal. If it's part of this is against the North American model, and
Hmm.
you can't put up with that stuff. It has to be gone.
Right. Right. All right, man. Well, thanks for joining us. I appreciate you taking time to get the word out. So,
Hey, you bet. Thanks for letting me do it. Thanks for
all
the
right,
invite.
Luke. All right. Thanks a lot, man. Take care.
Yep. Later.
Yeah. Luke's he's got it going on now. When he started forming they started working on the Wyoming Houndsmen Association a few years ago. Man, he's come a long way. He's dove in. Every state needs a guy that's as engaged as Luke is.
Does he have help? I mean,
I think he does. I think
yeah,
they're building something that's pretty cool. Wyoming's the lowest population density state in the country, so
yeah,
trying and him and 20 other guys make up half of the houndsman population in Wyoming. Maybe I don't know,
yeah,
but yeah, yep.
yeah.
You
That's
got
where
a lot.
that's where a
Go ahead.
national association would come in handy.
I think I agree,
Because
but
so
if we'd
so
have
like
started 30 years ago,
so like this year, I mean, actually for the last 3 years in Oklahoma, like we really haven't had a fight. You know, this year we pretty much have nothing. Last couple of years we had like a tether bill, but it
hmm
was defeated easily. So you know, so we don't really have a fight in Oklahoma. So if there was a national association, and since we don't have anything serious going on, we could turn our energy to help. Something like what Luke's fighting up there.
well, that's why I wanted to kick off the show by talking about SCI, and maybe I missed making this point. Um, but we can sit back and say, "Oh, that's not my crowd. I don't want to be involved." But if you don't go and you don't, press the flesh, shake those hands, let people know who you are, you're never going. We can't do it by ourselves. You've got to have that kind of help at that national level, whether it be just like I pull up Sportsman's Alliance webpage. How long would it be before we have a national map like that and have the ability to track every piece of legislation that affects us? You
I
can't do it
mean,
unless you got a full-time staff.
oh yeah, I mean, it would take, because I don't know how most states work, but in Oklahoma, like, there's a deadline for proposed legislation. It's in the winter. So I mean, what I'm getting at is you would definitely have to have somebody full time for
Hmm.
part of the year, at least for part of the year. Because I mean, that's a lot of work to put all that together. Like just putting it together for one state is a lot.
But then to have influence, you got to have somebody on the ground there that's going to an office, going to a commission meeting, going to this committee meeting. You know what I mean? I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
it's yep,
But yeah, I mean, like I was telling Luke, man, people think, oh, I'm just a guy. I don't really have a say. You can take 5 minutes out of your day and make a phone call to those people at the state. You don't always get them on the phone. You rarely get them on the phone, actually. You just speak to their secretary, but they do write it down, and that has a bigger influence than I think people realize. Because at the end of the day,
yep,
these are politicians who want to get reelected. So if they get a bunch of phone calls saying, "I don't like this," you know, in the back of their head, or maybe right in the front of their head, they're thinking, "Well, how many people don't like this? If I support this, am I going to get reelected? In two
mm-hmm,
years?" So I mean, don't underplay uh, the influence that you can have just as one person. And
yeah.
it's just a phone call. I mean, I don't. I call. I prefer to email. Uh, it's easier to do, after hours or whatever.
Email to a
But
legislator becomes public record as well.
yeah, and that's something else I should say. When you email or make a phone call, like whenever we're getting Oklahoma residents to help us fight something, that's something that we always stress or is uh, keep a cool head. Like, don't say stupid stuff. Don't because
Mm-hmm.
everybody sometimes people get mad and they want to like express that. That's that's the wrong way to do that. Always try to be cool headed and
And it takes this long. Senator so and so. My name is Chris Powell from Bear Branch, Indiana. I'm just calling to let you know that I oppose Senate Bill 0114.
yeah. And you can
That's
call
it.
and so like what I'll do is I'll email or call the person that's uh, supporting the bill, propose the bill, and then I also find my local representatives that they know, you know, I can vote for them, and then you email them as well, even if they're not connected with the bill,
Yep.
and say, I'm from
You,
such and such town. I'm one of your constituents, and I just want to let you know that I oppose this bill. You know, those are easy things to do. They just take minutes.
yep.
And I really, like I said, it does have an influence.
For sure. And I don't want anybody to get me wrong. I'm not saying that we do not need um we do not need I'm not saying that we don't need a national organization, but we need help right now, and that's why I'm encouraging people to get involved with some groups that I know have got it going on. They're way ahead of us in the game. And if we can get in there and make build relationships there, they will help us down the road. And it sure doesn't hurt to go and see what's possible. When you're trying to build something from the ground up, if you're looking at your coon club down the road and thinking that it's going to be like that, that's dreaming too small. It can't be that small. It's got to be. We've got to have something to aspire to. I saw brown bear hunt sell for $400,000 at SCI, and it's a lot of guys are like, who are we going to find in the hound hunting community that's going to spend that much on a brown bear hunt? Well, probably maybe nobody, but the thing of it is, you saw how enthusiastic they were to support an organization that is influential and effective, and it doesn't hurt to go and see what a good job looks like.
Yeah.
Gives you an idea. Just like
Yeah.
working, use it as a pattern.
Yeah. You got to know what
Yep.
the upper limits are.
Yep. Well, we don't have a whole lot of comments. Chris Watson's made a few, but pretty much everybody's just been chilling and listening. So, you got anything else, Ed?
I don't. Uh, you should try to
Good to
get
talk.
that.
Good to talk to you again.
Yeah, you should try to get that contact information for the Wyoming people up on your Facebook and I'll share it. I don't know too many people in Wyoming, but
Yeah, it's just I'll tell you, Joe Condellis with the American Bear Foundation is probably a real good contact there. He's plugged in there. I know that the Wyoming Wildlife Federation, they're active and doing some good things, and they work with these groups like Wyoming Houndsmen Association and some of the trap. I mean, they represent everybody. So yeah, I'll look and see what I got and get it up.
yeah, and you know, out of state guys. I mean, you can contact those uh, people, same as people from Wyoming. It doesn't have as much of an impact, but you know, when we do it in Oklahoma, when we have stuff in Oklahoma, we're fighting. We have plenty of people from out of Oklahoma that contact on our behalf, and
Mm-hmm.
I got to think it probably does something.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, and you can always join pay your dues to the Wyoming Houndsman Association, and then you can call a legislator and say, "Hey, I'm a member of this group. You're making laws that affect my membership," and boom.
Yeah,
Now you got. I'm supporting something in your state. If you like driving, going to Wyoming and hunting, you've got a state. You've got a dog in this fight. So
yeah. When I get off here, I'm going to join. I didn't know they had an association. I don't remember, but yeah.
yeah. All right, man. Well, I'm gonna check out. I'm gonna
Okay.
shut the Bear Branch studio down. I think Theo Vaughn or Joe Rogan's coming in here right after me. Joe always pushes them off when I schedule. He like moves their schedule around mine,
Oh yeah, yeah. You do have
around
to.
around yours really, because it's
It,
Ed. When I say Ed's going to be on the show, then it's like, well, Theo Vaughn and Joe Rogan can wait.
yeah, they can wait. Yeah, somebody ought to get a hold of Joe Rogan and see if they can get him to uh, throw some of his weight around in Wyoming, or at least some of his ability to get it out in the public.
Yeah, we made contact with him. The committee I was on got to him during the 127. So it's still early in this whole thing. These bills always get thrown out there. I know it's alarming if you're from Wyoming and stuff like that, but it's early, and I'll make some calls tomorrow and see where we're at. And a lot of times when I make those calls, I get told, "Don't worry about it. We've already taken care of it." I called Todd Adkins one time on a bill in Kansas about lights and it was going to affect coon hunting and stuff. He called me back 30 minutes later and he goes, "It's dead. I made
Yeah,
contact with this guy and it's dead."
yeah, I've run into that as well.
Yep.
Lots of times, stuff in those committees, it's behind the scenes stuff. They already know it's not going to pass committee, but you know they don't put that
No.
on the website.
Right. Right.
But I wouldn't assume that that's what's going on in Wyoming.
Me neither. Not
No,
yet.
no.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll be back next week. Well, I'm going to be in Colorado next week, or New Mexico next week. I think we can probably do a show next week. It'll be earlier. I'll be 2 hours ahead. I'll have to play it by ear next week.
Yeah, I'll be available if you get time to do it.
Okay. All right.
So
Sounds good.
might see everybody next Tuesday. We might not. Who knows?
Who knows? Whatever we feel like.
Yeah.
All right.
Take it out of our pay if we don't show up.
Exactly. All right. Take care, everybody.
See you.